Leprechaun versus Candyman. I was reading through the internet and I did not know this though, but this was like right around the time when they did the Jason versus Freddy Krueger fight. And which Jason versus Freddy was a pretty decent fight, but according on through the internet, they said right after Jason versus Freddy fight, there was talks of having Candyman versus the Leprechaun. And the guy who portrayed himself as Candyman, known as Tony, turned that role down. He said no, he doesn't want to do that though. And I can understand why Tony, the one who portrayed himself as Candyman, I can understand why he didn't want to do this kind of fight because it's silly, man. That's a silly fight. And I'm not just saying this because the leprechaun is short. You know, he's a short midget or anything like that. But if you watch the Leprechaun movies is got a little bit of comedy mixed with it as well too. You know, you watch Leprechaun 1, 2, and 3, you know, Leprechaun in Vegas. You can kind of tell it's got a lot of comedy in it, you know, a little comedy, like Leprechaun in the Hood. You know, it's got comedy stuff in there though. And, you know, you try to mix the comedy along with Candyman, you know, you know, Candyman is not no comedy movie. Let's keep it 100 on that one. When you watch Candyman, there is nothing funny or comedy about Candyman. Candyman is literally just scary. You call his name 5 times, your history. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing funny about Candyman. You know what I'm saying? So Candyman versus Leprechaun really wouldn't make sense. I mean, I think it would have hurt Candyman's credibility. It would have hurt his credibility because then people would have looked at Candyman. You know, Candyman is somebody not to be laughed at. You know, Candyman is somebody that you should be frightened by. You know what I'm saying? Candyman is not comedy. So you put the Leprechaun in there and you mix the comedy with Candyman, that would have hurted Candyman's momentum. I mean, come on now, man. That would be like trying to, I don't know, trying to make Michael Myers funny. That would be like trying to have Michael Myers go up against a cartoon character. You know what I'm saying? And that would really hurt Michael Myers' image. It would hurt his character because you know there's nothing funny about Michael Myers or Jason. Freddy Krueger got some comedy in there too. I will admit, Freddy Krueger when he first came out, there wasn't really that much comedy about Freddy. But over the years, Freddy Krueger started doing comedy, little comedy, little skits and stuff like that. But Freddy Krueger, it goes with his character. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I think Freddy versus Candyman would have made more sense. It would definitely would have made more sense though. But Candyman versus a Leprechaun, I mean, I don't see how it would have made any sense on how the story would be because you know Leprechaun he goes after people that takes his gold and you know Leprechaun is greedy. If you take the Leprechaun's gold or you try to steal his gold, the Leprechaun would do everything in his power to try to get his gold back from you no matter what. Where Candyman, you know, you call him 5 times, he's gonna come for you. So that's how I'm like, how is this going to even be? I'm just saying, if they would have made this, how in the world would it make sense? I mean, the only way Leprechaun would go after Candyman, unless Candyman take one of the Leprechaun's gold. But what does Candyman wants from a Leprechaun? You know what I'm saying? Like what would Candyman want from a Leprechaun? What would he want? I mean, I don't know. I mean, Leprechaun is way older than Candyman. You know what I'm saying? Candyman just a vengeful spirit. So I'm thinking maybe if they would have done this fight, they probably would have done it where Candyman was once human before he became Candyman, and then you know Leprechaun and Candyman made some kind of a deal. I'm just talking about in storyline wise. They could make it where before he became Candyman, Candyman made a deal with the Leprechaun, or Candyman stole something from the Leprechaun and never gave it back to him when Candyman was once human. before he even died. You know what I'm saying? You know, it can go something like that. It can be where Leprechaun saying like, "Hey, you stole my gold a century ago, and you still haven't returned it, or whatever like that." But Leprechaun wouldn't really know who Candyman is. But I'm just talking about in storyline wise, if they were to do this kind of fight, you know. Um, I mean, I don't understand. I mean, what would it be the reason of Candyman going after the Leprechaun? That's my thing. What would it be the reason? Unless Leprechaun was tricked on calling Candyman 5 times. That's the only way I can see that. Because how is Candyman gonna come after Leprechaun? I mean, Leprechaun would have to be tricked to call Candyman 5 times. You know, Leprechaun would have to, if someone would talk to Leprechaun and say, "Hey, I want you to stand in front of a mirror and call Candyman 5 times, and you'll you know, so someone would have to trick the Leprechaun. Someone would have to trick him in order to summon Candyman, because that's the only way it would make sense. But if these two would have fought, who would I think would actually win if Candyman and Leprechaun fought though? It's really hard to say, man. I mean, it's really hard to say unless Leprechaun knows Candyman's weakness, unless Leprechaun knows the paintings or the mirrors or whatever like that to kill Candyman. But Candyman's pretty much immortal. So no matter what Leprechaun does to Candyman, Candyman's not going to die very easily. So no matter how much magic tricks the Leprechaun does to Candyman, I don't think it'll work. You know what I'm saying? If once Leprechaun sees that Candyman is not no ordinary human, he's just a vengeful spirit, that's going to really be a fight for the Leprechaun right there to really deal with, though. And Leprechaun really can't die that easy. Well, I mean, Leprechaun's been stabbed. He's been shot. I don't know. Leprechaun has been blown up to pieces and came back together. So even if Candyman uses Hook and rip the Leprechaun apart, I mean, Leprechaun would just regenerate and just put himself back together, though. So I don't know, though. You know, I mean, Leprechaun has taken some major damage now. If you go back and you watch Leprechaun, Leprechaun has definitely taken some major damage and was able to come back to life. You know what I'm saying? So either way, man, like I said, Candyman versus Leprechaun, it just, I don't know, man. It would be a silly fight. But if they're gonna do this fight, it can't be no comedy in it. You know, it couldn't be. And like I said, I don't blame Tony for turning this role down many years ago, man, because he knows himself. If I do this fight, this is gonna hurt the Candyman's character. It's gonna hurt it. He probably would have agreed to it if they would have did a Candyman versus Freddy, or Candyman versus Jason, or Candyman versus Pinhead from Hellraiser. Maybe Tony would have agreed with that. But I'm glad Tony protected the Candyman's character. You know, the Candyman, character is supposed to be a frightened character. It's not supposed to be mixed in with comedy along with the Leprechaun. You know what I'm saying? It just wouldn't make sense. And I don't know who would actually win this fight, to be honest with y'all, man. I mean, I could make a good guess. Maybe Candyman might win this fight. You know, because Leprechaun would annoy Candyman and saying, "I want me go," you know what I'm saying? But what would it be the reason for Leprechaun to go after Candyman? What would it be the reason? You know what I'm saying? You know, it's got to be a reason behind all that. And it just wouldn't make sense to me. It wouldn't make sense. I think having Wishmaster versus Leprechaun would be an interesting fight. Wishmaster versus Leprechaun, I think that fight would be interesting. But I would save that for another video. You know, I don't want to give y'all my thoughts about it. But I don't know, guys. This is a pretty much silly kind of fight right here, and I'm glad they didn't do this fight. But if they was to do this fight, if you guys want to leave a comment or not, who do you guys think would have won? Do you guys think Candyman would have won, or do you guys think Leprechaun would have won? If you guys want to leave a comment, let me know. And do you guys think that this fight should have happened? Yes or no? If not, I mean, leave a comment. Totally up to y'all. Anyway, y'all, peace.